Recently, the Australian YouTuber FriendlyJordies released a video discussing Australia's political superiority over New Zealand. It was a very good video. His analysis focused predominantly on economics. And of course it did. Economically, Australia has had better governments. The Australian Labour Party is far better than the New Zealand Labour Party. The New Zealand Labour Party was hijacked by crazy neoliberals in the 1980s. That never happened in Australia. Hawke and Keating did do some reforms, but it was slow and mild compared to what happened here. New Zealand got massive reform overnight. The deranged finance minister Roger Douglas had an incredibly anti-democratic philosophy. He had no mandate whatsoever. He believed that reform had to be introduced so rapidly that nobody would have a chance to figure out what was happening and respond. That sounds like a joke, but he has written advice for reformers, and that is literally what he said. Even Bob Jones, who agreed with everything Douglas did, strongly criticised him on this basis. His actions were utterly anti-democratic. The New Zealand Labour Party was hijacked by extreme neoliberal reformers, and our Labour Party has never fully recovered. Australia has a stronger economy. Australia has stronger workers' rights. Australia has a capital gains tax and a tax-free threshold, both of which are considered radical leftist goals in New Zealand politics. Even Labour is reluctant to promote these policies. Australia has a great superannuation policy. There is a strong case to be made for Australia's superiority on economic issues. But Australia is infinitely worse than New Zealand on two other issues. Two issues that the FriendlyJordies video did not delve into: race relations and foreign policy. On these issues, Australia does not compare so favourably. Australia is notoriously racist. Aboriginals in Australia are considerably less integrated than Maori in New Zealand. Indigenous culture is given a lot more respect in New Zealand. The Maori seats give Maori far greater political representation. Maori culture has been an important part of New Zealand's identity for quite some time. Many Australians shun Aboriginal culture entirely. Australia does not have a treaty, and if it did, nobody would want to honour it. New Zealand does have a treaty, the Treaty of Waitangi, and everyone pretends to care about honouring it. Even its opponents try to redefine it, not throw it in the bin entirely. On race relations, New Zealand is far ahead of Australia. This is aided by the fact that New Zealand was discovered at a later date, when the colonial powers considered themselves slightly more enlightened. At least enlightened enough to sign a dishonest treaty, rather than just stealing everything with no legal pretext whatsoever. Perhaps more important is foreign policy. New Zealand has a far more independent foreign policy than Australia. For a long time, New Zealand was a loyal US ally, like Australia. The only exception to this would be the Norman Kirk years when New Zealand leant more towards independence. But the true divergence occurred in the 1980s. At this time, the New Zealand Labour Party was doing radical right-wing economic reforms. To appease their left-wing voter base, they ceded them ground on every other issue. They adopted a nuclear-free policy. This resulted in a massive falling out with the USA. The USA was furious that New Zealand wouldn't let its ships dock. The USA severed all formal defence guarantees with New Zealand. ANZUS was dead. New Zealand was out on its own and has been relatively independent ever since. We did not follow the USA into Iraq like the Australians did. We did not join AUKUS like Australia has. We did not sign ourselves up for a future war with China like Australia has. We have been independent, and this is a serious point in our favour. It improves our security considerably. Military alliances produce enemies. They put you in the firing line. Australia could become a smouldering crater in its bid to uphold US dominance. And this is increasingly unappealing as the USA goes down an illiberal and idiotic path. New Zealand's relative independence is a major strength. We are nowhere near as closely tied to the Americans. We are nowhere near as willing to fight for the Americans. We distrust them and the broader Western security system. A French terrorist attack on our soil in the 1980s didn't help either. This and the US fury over the nuclear-free policy galvanized people into a state of independence. They hate the idea of being a stooge for larger Western powers. Australia has no such hate and eagerly wanders towards these arrangements. New Zealand versus Australia. What would you rather be? A wealthy racist stooge, or poor but independent and tolerant?